Hello everyone and welcome back to another update on the Aptera Accelerator program. As you can see, the leaderboard has had some updates in the last few days. There's actually not that much new information on the leaderboard, but a few extra features. The number of investors is now labeled delivery slots filled and has this speedometer type graph showing how many people have invested. You also have these two bars that show the number of new investors versus old investors and the amount that new investors and old investors have invested. The search bar is back as well, so you can search for different initials and find your spot on the leaderboard that way, or you can look at the people in a specific region. And with that, let's hop over the charts and see what information we can find there. In this chart, there's starting to be enough information that you can see a trajectory of where it's going. Seems to be kind of started off pretty good and seems to be leveling off a bit. I saw this chart before I had Sunday charted and looked like it was almost going against trend and popping up. But then when I got Sunday charted, it was obvious that that was just a boom from Friday and Saturday and reverting to trend on Sunday. The blue line here is investments based on when they were received by Aptera and showed up on the leaderboard, and the red line is based on when they were committed. You can watch my episode from week 1 if you want to know more about the difference between these two lines. There is something on this chart that I wouldn't have expected, and that's the red line coming below the blue line. That would be due to different investments being removed from the Aptera leaderboard. I have not heard why they were removed from the leaderboard, but I think it's safe to assume that their investments are no longer being counted. As I stated in the week 1 video, this red line is likely to shift up as more stuff comes in that was committed before the current date. This chart shows the amount invested each day. The blue and red lines mean the same thing they did in the last chart. The blue spikes were when investments were received by Aptera that were committed by ACH payments or wire transfers. You can see here that there was a run-up of investments going into the weekend and dropping here on Sunday. People must have been more interested in the Super Bowl than investing on Sunday. I expect that over the next few weeks, the chart will stay between these 2 points and then ramp back up toward the end of the Aptera Accelerator program. This will result in kind of a U-shaped graph. Hopefully the graph spends more time at elevated levels and hopefully goes higher towards the end of the campaign. It's quite difficult to predict the magnitude of the trajectory because this is a type of campaign that I have not seen before. The closest thing I can think of is a Kickstarter style campaign, and with that I haven't seen any of the results charted. There tends to be an incentive to get people to get their money in quickly. In a Kickstarter style campaign, there is no leaderboard, and thus people are not going to delay payment in order to optimize where they end up on the leaderboard. And payments would tend to be far less than the 10,000 minimum in the Aptera Accelerator leaderboard. Anecdotally, I've heard a fair bit of people that have been delaying their investments for a few reasons. One being, they can then see where the leaderboard is and then decide how much money or if they want to invest based on that. Some people are wanting to make sure that they can be on the leaderboard even with not much above the minimum investment, which at this point seems fairly likely that they will make it on the leaderboard unless the end of the campaign goes absolutely crazy. I also heard others that are thinking about adding to the campaign but want to see how the rest of the campaign is going before they do so. For the most part, there are not large gaps in the dollar amounts people have invested. However, there are a few key numbers that tend to collect people's investment dollars. For example, if you have not invested in Aptera yet and wanted to do roughly the minimum, a $10,500 investment would get you on the board and give you an even 1,000 shares. But if you bought 1,001 shares for $10,510.50, you would currently pass 44 people that invested 10,500. However, if you're anything like me, it would bug you to invest 1,001 shares, so I would probably tend to round up over that just a little bit. With this chart, we can see the number of investors involved in the Aptera Accelerator program that have made an investment previous to January 27th, and we can see those that have not. It will be interesting to see if this chart stays roughly the same at the late stages of the campaign, or if new or previous investors take off and have far more percentage than they do now. Finally, we have the map of the states that the investors were from. I was expecting maybe 1 or 2 new states to show up. However, there were 4 this week. Alabama, Arkansas, South Dakota, and Vermont all have investors this week and did not last week. There are still 10 states remaining without investors, so we'll have to see if that number dwindles down. As you may have guessed, California is still way out ahead, and Texas and Florida are still in a close race for second. One thing to note, the leaderboard did have an entry with the state initials of AP, and it said it was from the US. Since I'm not aware of a state or territory that it would make sense to give those initials, I did not put this on this chart. That is all I have for you today. Make sure you leave a comment letting me know what time you think the surge will start at the end of the campaign.